Hey, Shalom family. I did a video about a week or two ago, and in that video, I was discussing being willing to listen to people outside of your bubble, outside of your normal paradigm. And I wanted to do a quick follow up to that video because there were a couple of questions that I got, and even a couple of concerns. So I wanted to just go through the video and touch on a couple of points. So, the first thing I want to I'll show the video here and just go through a couple of points here. So listen to this and we'll come right back. If the only people you ever listen to are those who look like you, sound like you, think like you, then there's no way for you to actually be able to grow and stretch. To be able to grow and to mature requires you to be exposed to things outside that allow you to work the muscle of your mind. So, in saying that, the main point that I wanted to make from there is that a lot of us, especially if you identify as a Israelite, I know for a fact from my observations that many people do not listen to people who are outside of their paradigm, whether that is other races. A lot of Israelites will not listen to someone of another race. Some people will not listen to Christians because they believe that they, have a perspective that they disagree with. And many people will not listen to Jews because they feel like, hey, those aren't the real Jews. And many other groups of people. So I want to challenge that because, as I said in the video, if you can't listen to someone unless they are coming from your circle, your paradigm, your exact culture or belief system, then it leaves you very limited. The Most High gave, especially if you're not willing to listen to those who have a relationship with the Most High. The Most High has given different portions and different experiences to all of us, and each unique group of people carries something different. And when you are able to listen to and learn from and receive from people outside of whatever your particular portion is, then it helps you to be able to grow. If you're only learning from a limited perspective and viewpoint, then you're going to be limited. And that's what I meant by this first portion of what I said here. If you can't listen to people because they don't look like you, they have different culture, different perspective, different experience, because you have these biases or prejudices or even in sometimes misguided perspectives about them, then you're missing out on a portion that the Most High is given, especially when it comes to people who have a relationship with the Most High. Just because someone is identifies with Christianity does not at all mean that they don't know truth. Just because someone is Jewish and they're not necessarily a Israelite based on your understanding does not mean that they don't know the Most High or that they don't have truth and have things that they share that can be beneficial to you. Just because someone is of another race does not mean that you cannot receive from them. So if that is your perspective, then it's very limited. So that's what I meant starting off on that first point. The second point from that is that even people within your own paradigm, as far as who identifies as an Israelite or who keeps Torah, if they don't have the same exact culture or doctrines that you and your particular group or family may hold to, that doesn't mean that you cannot receive from them or learn from them, whether it's from that particular area or from another area. We don't have to always focus on our differences. All right, let's listen to the second portion real quick. So if you want to grow, allow yourself to consider things outside of what you already know or what you already think you know, and allow your mind to wrestle with other ideas and to come to your own conclusions based on the strength of your spirit, which will increase as you allow it and you begin to develop a relationship of trust with your own mind, your own spirit. Okay, so in this section, I talked about exercising your mind, allowing your mind to wrestle with other ideas, and how important that is for our spiritual growth, right? For us to be able to grow mentally, to grow spiritually, emotionally, to grow in love, to grow in tolerance, okay? To be able to engage with other people. So it's going to help us in our relationships, and it's going to help us with our own understandings, because the more we hear different perspectives, it allows us to think of things that we haven't thought of before. And those things challenge us and stretch us to develop new mental muscles, to develop new understanding, to ask more questions, to take something to the Most High in prayer, to take something back for us to study. Something may challenge us, whether we ultimately agree with it or not. It still allows us to have actually wrestled with it. A lot of times we end up in our beliefs, we just end up parroting things that we've heard, that we agree with. But the second someone challenges us, we end up getting defensive, because we don't really know what we believe. We haven't been challenged on it, so we don't know how to respond, and it throws us off. So that's how people get defensive, and you know, get to the point where they can't hear or receive from others, and you get stuck and you can't go any further, right? So, but the more we allow ourselves to wrestle, if we allow the pop quiz, that's why when you're taking a class, you have a final exam at the end. But prior to that, you're there's pop quizzes. You may have just learned something today, and a teacher might say, "Okay, pop quiz." And you're like, "Oh man, I just learned it. I don't know it well yet." But that pop quiz is a part of helping you to integrate it into your learning, because as you're answering the questions, it allows you to know where you need to practice, where you need to study, um, as you're going through that process. Sometimes you may think that you've mastered it until the pop quiz comes up and you realize, oh, it's not, I don't remember it as well as I actually thought that I did. So I'm glad I'm having this quiz now so that I don't get to the end and take the test and end up failing it. So now I get a chance to go back and study. So it allows us to build muscle when we, allow ourselves to be challenged by things that are outside of our normal paradigm. Okay, so let's go to the last portion here. And not be dependent on the perspectives of others. If you only have people around you that are going to echo the same things that you already think, it's only going to strengthen you, but it may be strengthening you in a delusion, but you'll never know because you haven't exposed yourself to anything else. Okay, so in this last portion, I talked about getting outside of your group, you know, and when people around you that are only echoing the same thing that you already believe, it feels good when you're around people and everybody's resonating and it's the same thing. That's great for edification purposes. But if you are never, you go years and you're never outside of that particular group or that particular mindset, you don't know if what you're believing is just groupthink, or if what you're thinking, whether it's a belief or whether it's it has to do with your personal character. Sometimes you could be around people and everybody's gassing you up and telling you you're great. And then you go outside of that circle and people are telling you something a little different. They're telling you the truth, that the people around you weren't willing to share with you, so sometimes you have to be around other people as well so that you don't have this false confidence, or that you're not being, reinforced in something that is not true. Right. So this is how people go years and they end up like upset, like, oh my goodness, how was I deceived all this time? Well, it may have been that you didn't allow anyone outside of your circle to challenge your thinking, to challenge your perspective. So we don't want to put ourselves in those situations. Yes, there's a time and a place where we need to, maybe protect ourselves because we're just learning, or we're new, or we're fragile, right? So during those times, we may need to protect ourselves. It's just like if you plant a seed, it's going to take time for roots to grow. And when it first starts to come up, the roots may be very shallow and easy to just pull that plant out the ground. Versus when it has time to grow and its roots are a little deeper, it has the opportunity to get its strength so that it's not easily, so it's not fragile, right? So you want to, have certain times when you know that you're in a fragile place where you are protected. Okay, that's understandable. But imagine you've stayed somewhere and your roots have gone really deep into this understanding and this mindset, never challenged, but you're being rooted in something that's not solid, but you're rooted deeply in it, something that's not true, but your roots are going deep down in it because you just continued on for years and years and years, untested, unchallenged. So we don't want to, create challenges for ourselves and just, not being led by the spirits, into different opportunities. What I'm saying is when something crosses your path, how do you handle it? How do you have the tools to be able to handle things uh, as they come up? I think there was a few that had the misunderstanding that I was saying that you should just go out and kind of start testing different books or different doctrines or different religions or different things that are outside of your faith. And that's not what I was saying. You should do what you should know yourself and know where you are in your relationship with the Most High before you go knocking on any doors, before you go seeking out anything. And when something comes across your path, you should know those things so you can know what you should partake of, what challenges you should take on, and what you shouldn't, based on where you are. It's important that we know our own hearts and minds and desires and struggles so that we can always know, what we should take on and what we should not take on. So it's important to be able to know yourself and to know the Most High, know the spirit that's within you. Another point from the video that I said was, we have to be able to trust in our spirit, in our mind, ourselves, versus this. Listen to what I'm saying. Versus another person, right? Versus just trusting in other people. Um, we have to be able to have that trust in our own spirit, our own walk with the Most High. I did not say to lean to your own understanding or to trust in your feelings, right? So, but we have to get to a point where we have developed a relationship with ourselves, where we know ourselves, we know our struggles, we know our hearts, right? The scripture says that who can know the heart is deceitfully wicked. But as believers who have the spirit of the Most High, who His word is written in our hearts now, and His spirit is within us, though we should be developing in a relationship. We should be developing a relationship where we are cleansing and purging ourselves, and um, and we know what it is that we can discern where we are and where we're going, and what is, like I said earlier, what is for us and what is not. Right. So if you don't trust yourself, that's a whole nother topic, right? You should be able to know where you are in this walk and what's in your heart and where you are in your spirit, and and how the spirit that you have a relationship with, the spirit of the Most High in Christ, where it's leading you and where it's not leading you. You should know when the spirit is saying, "Hey, nope, this is not for you. This is not for now. Keep it moving." So I think that we don't want to get to a point where we're just vessels with no we're walking vessels, and we're in touch with the spirit, but we don't know ourselves, right? Because the spirit chose to dwell within us in all of our humanity. The spirit chose to dwell within us in our humanity, in our spirit, and to walk with us. So we have to tap in. Okay. So I think that was all that I wanted to touch on, just to make sure that there was no misunderstanding in that. There was some videos that I've done in the past dealing with self-deception. I think it's a couple of them I will tag them or post them down in the comment section and or the description, and so you can check those out. Because someone questioned me about deception, and I don't personally believe that information alone can lead you astray. I believe that it's always, as James said in the book of James, he talked about how we are led away and enticed, right? So it's by what's in our own hearts, what's in our own desires. That's what leads us astray. When Eve was led astray, it wasn't so much because of, yes, the serpent presented that option to her that she hadn't considered before, but it was her own thoughts about it, her own desires, what looked pleasing to her. That's what ultimately led her astray. She wasn't she didn't tap into herself to know, to be aware of what her uh weakness may have been in that moment, and she didn't check in with the spirit of the most high to figure out, hey, is this something I should do or not? Right? She just went off with that desire when she saw that outside thing. So that's what we want to not do. We don't want to just be led astray because we heard something or saw something. We want to check in and know ourselves well enough to know, hey, you know what, I've been struggling with this lately, and that's really tapping into that need, that desire, that thought. So let me chill. Let me ask the Most High, is this something? Is this a way that I should go right now, based on what I've been feeling and what I've been, uh, dealing with? So I just want to share that. If you have any other questions, let me know in the comments, um, and if need be, I'll come back again and touch a little deeper on the topic. If it's anything that you would like me to address, just let me know in the comments. And then just consider what was being said here, and ask yourself, like, what type of people are you surrounded with? Do they all only think like you, or do you ever have people around you that challenge you? Not just on doctrinal beliefs, but on viewpoints, on ways of thinking, on things that will tie back into your character, and the way that you conduct yourself, right? Anything that would challenge mindsets that you may hold. Okay, so just ask yourself that. Ask yourself if you have opportunities to stretch and to grow. Ask yourself if you are, if you find yourself easily triggered to where you can't dialogue, uh, and really allow yourself to sit in a difference when you hear something that's different from what you're used to, or what you may immediately agree with, whether or not you can sit in that and actually listen and take that perspective in, or if you're triggered and you have to avoid it and turn away. That's if you find yourself in that place, that's an area you might want to check to grow, because it's a vulnerability. It's showing that there's some type of fear there, and you want to find out what that is, so that you can be able to walk from a place of strength and peace in that area. So just some things to look at, and to be able to consider if there's some growth that's needed, right? Because we want to grow, right? All right, so thank you for listening. I'll look for you in the comments, any thoughts that you may have. Shalom, shalom.